working?
Yeah, I pressed it before it started, so.
It's now streaming live.
Mr. Mayor, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome back, everybody. We've had our little discussion and we now propose to go to the vote. The town clerk will explain to you what the procedure is, but before we do that, Councillor Weston.
Mr. Mayor, can I propose under Standing Order 3S that we have a recorded named vote, please?
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that, please?
I need a second.
It doesn't require one, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, it doesn't require one. We don't require one, do we? As a member has asked for that, we need to go. We go straight for a name vote. So I'll hand this back over to the town clerk, who will explain to the people asking for co-option what the situation is now.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we will now proceed with the selection of candidates for Highfield ward. The Mayor will shortly read out the three names. So it's Mohammed Ikram, Fulzar Ahmed and David Earnshaw. Each candidate in turn will be proposed and seconded. Once that has been done, we will then go into a name vote. So I will read out the names of the members present in alphabetical order, and you will say to me if you want to vote for Mohammed Ikram, that's candidate number 1. If you want to vote for Fulzar Ahmed, that's candidate number 2. And if you want to vote for David Earnshaw, that is candidate number 3. There are 24 members currently present. So to have if all 24 members vote, your absolute majority is 13, if my GCSE maths is accurate. If people abstain, obviously that doesn't, then I will confirm numbers. You have to have an absolute majority to be co-opted. If that isn't the case after the first round of vote, the candidate with the least number of votes will drop out, and I will go through the process again, which will be another name vote, going through each candidate by order, and it'll be candidate 1 and candidate 2. But I will go through that again if we get that far. So, Mr. Mayor, can we call for somebody to propose and second?
Could I ask somebody to propose Mohammed Ikram, please? Councillor Mansell? Can I ask somebody to second Councillor Westerland? Oh,
just 1 second, let me write that down.
Do we need a...
No, then Fulzar Ahmed.
can I ask somebody to propose Fulzar Ahmed, please?
Councillor Kirby, I see.
Councillor Kirby, somebody to second?
Councillor Shawhead, I see.
Councillor Shoy, thank you. And can I have somebody to propose David Earnshaw? Councillor Akhtar, somebody to second, please.
Councillor Dowes.
Councillor Dowes. So all 3 candidates have been proposed and seconded. We now go to the vote, and I hand you back to the town clerk for that to occur.
So thank you, Mr. Mayor. So again, if you want to vote for Mohammed Ikram, you can say candidate 1, Fulzar Ahmed candidate 2, and David Earnshaw candidate 3. And I'll read the names out in alphabetical order. Councillor Abberton.
Candidate 2, please.
Councillor Adams.
Sorry, candidate 1.
Sorry, I should say, if members can just remember to unmute themselves before they vote as well. Councillor Ahmed, please.
Candidate 1.
Councillor Akhtar.
Candidate 1.
Councillor Anayat. Councillor Anayat.
Candidate 1.
Thank you. Councillor Bernardini.
Candidate 1.
Councillor Clarkson, please.
Abstain.
Thank you. Councillor Cooper's not present. Councillor Corkindale.
Candidate 2.
Councillor Curtis.
Candidate 1.
Councillor Dowes.
Candidate 3.
Councillor Graham.
Candidate 1.
Councillor Hurd. Councillor Hurd. I think Councillor Hurd has dropped out. So I
He's up
will.
there. He's up there,
What, sorry, Joe, where are you looking?
next to you, on top row.
Oh, yes, yeah. Councillor Hurd, sorry.
There, don't click it.
Yeah,
Candidate 2, please.
thank you. Councillor Kirby.
Councillor 2.
Thank you. Councillor Mahmood, please. She's had Mahmood.
Candidate 2.
Councillor Munsell, please.
Candidate 1.
Councillor Nazam.
Candidate 2.
Councillor Michelle Shaw.
Candidate 2.
Councillor Phil Shaw.
2.
Councillor Shawhead.
2.
Councillor Andrea Walker. Councillor Andrea Walker. You're muted, Councillor Walker. If you can just unmute yourself, please. Yeah, we can hear you now.
Can you hear me? Councillor 1. Oh, sorry, number 1.
Thank you. Councillor Martin Walker.
Candidate 1.
Councillor Westerman.
Candidate 1.
Councillor Wrench.
Candidate 1.
And Councillor Zubair. Zubair was here. But Councillor Zubair, we can see you. Can you hear us?
It looks like it's the Golden Gate.
Yeah. Number 1, 2 or 3, Councillor Zubair. We can see you. No, you've muted yourself. Just unmute yourself. You can signify with your hands if Councillor Zubair, if that's easy, 1, 2 or 3. No, I can't, you can't. There we go. No. Okay, I'll put him down as abstaining, unfortunately. Just bear with me, please.
Well, it's 12-9. 12-9 with two abstentions.
22 votes in total.
Should be 22. Should be 24 votes.
There's 2 abstentions.
All right.
Yeah, so that's the 2. So that's
Oh, yeah. So 12 is
12 is the majority.
12 is okay. So in that case, it's Mohammed Ikram.
8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1 second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3. Mr. Mayor, Mohammed Ikram has 12 votes. Fulza Ahmed has 10 votes. I have 1 vote for 1 second.
So 9 votes and 2 abstentions.
9 votes and 2 abstentions. Yeah. So with an absolute majority, Mohammed Ikram has been selected for the vacancy.
Thank you. Congratulations, Mr. Mohammed Ikram, you have been selected and are duly co-opted onto Keighley Town Council. Can you explain the?
Yeah, so Chair, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So Mr. Ikram will be elected to the council until he signs the declaration of office. Obviously, he can't participate in the meeting. When we get to item 10, which is committee vacancies, the two candidates can put themselves forward for positions committees, but they can't partake in any votes this evening, and nor can they speak, even though they have been selected. Mr. Can we move on to Morton and Sandbeds, please?
Right, and can you please tell me what the reference numbers are for the?
Yep. So candidate number 1 is Sarah Nash Myers. Candidate number 2 is Martin Wood, and candidate number 3 is Simon Smith. So if we can have a proposal,
Can I have a proposal, please, and a second for Sarah Nash Myers, please.
Councillor
That's
Adams.
Councillor Adams proposing, and Councillor who's waiting?
Phil Shaw.
Councillor Phil Shaw. Seconded. Thank you. Can I have a proposer and a seconder for Matt Wood, please?
Councillor Aberton.
Councillor Aberton. Seconder, please.
Councillor, we need a seconder.
Well, that'll be me then.
Councillor Cook or Councillor Downs.
Councillor Dowse. Thank you. Proposal for Mr. Smith.
Councillor Martin Walker.
Councillor Walker, Martin Walker. Seconder, please.
Councillor Bernardini.
Councillor Bernardini. Thank you. The same applies to this as it did to the earlier vote. So if we'll go through the clerk will go through the councillors alphabetically and we'll elect another member of the council.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Knight. New voting sheet. So members, the same process again. Candidate 1 is Sarah Nash Myers. Candidate 2 is Martin Wood. Candidate 3 is Simon Smith. You need to give me the number or whether you wish to abstain. Councillor Aberton.
Candidate 2, please.
Councillor Adams.
Councillor 2, Martin Wood.
Thank you. Councillor Ahmed. Councillor Andrew Ahmed.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
Number 2.
Thank you. Councillor Javid Akhtar.
Candidate number 2.
Thank you. Councillor Anayat.
Candidate 2.
Councillor Bernardini.
Candidate 2.
Councillor Clarkson.
Candidate 2.
Councillor Corkindale.
Candidate 2.
Councillor Curtis. Oh, once more, Mark. You just muted Councillor Curtis.
1, 2.
Councillor Curtis still muted. If you want to one more try.
Speak, please.
2.
Councillor.
Councillor 2. Yeah, thank you. Councillor Downs.
Candidate 2, please.
Thank you. Councillor Graham.
Candidate 2, please.
Thank you. Councillor Hurd.
Candidate 2, please.
Thank you. Councillor Kirby.
Candidate 2.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Kirby.
Candidate 2, please.
Thank you. Councillor Shazad Mahmood.
Candidate 2.
Thank you. Councillor Munsell.
Candidate 2.
Thank you. Councillor Nazam.
Candidate 2.
Thank you. Councillor Michelle Shaw.
Candidate 2.
Councillor Phil Shaw.
2.
Thank you. Councillor Shawhead.
2.
Councillor Andrea Walker. Councillor Walker, Andrea Walker. You're still muted, Councillor Walker. 2, thank you. Councillor Martin Walker.
Since I nominated candidate 1, please.
Thank you. Councillor Westerman, please.
Candidate 2.
Councillor Wrench, please.
Candidate 2.
And Councillor Zubair.
Where is it? Where's the Golden Gate Bridge?
I think he's dropped out, I think. I can't see him, Chair.
We'll have to show us an abstention then. We'll...
Yeah, so we have one. Mr. Martin Wood was elected.
Yes.
22 votes, 1 for Sarah Nash Myers and 1 abstention.
So thank you, Mr. Clark. Thank you, councillors. The result of that election is that Mr. Martin Wood is duly elected and co-opted onto the council. The same applies to you, Mr. Wood. When we get to the item regarding committee vacancies, you can put your name forward, but you can't vote at this particular meeting until you sign your forms. I would like to say to all the other candidates who put their name forward, thank you for your interest. Thank you for your indulgence tonight, and we look forward to speaking to you at some stage in the future. Thank you very much indeed to everybody. Thank you, councillors. Right.
Item 9, Mr. Mayor.
Item 9. I tried to do this earlier on, didn't I? This is committee meetings for the decision. As I say, we've got a fairly hefty agenda this evening. So unless anybody's got any particular objections, I would like somebody to propose and second all the committee meetings, including 17, which is a town plan steering group, unless.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay.
Got Councillor Andrew Walker, Councillor Graham.
So Councillor Andrew Walker.
Councillor Graham.
Councillor Andrew Walker, are you proposing?
Yes, I am, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Graham, are you seconding?
Yes, I'd like to second that motion.
Thank you. Councillor Abbott, are you wishing to speak on any of the minutes? No, okay. Thank you. So that's been proposed and seconded. So all those in favour are accepting the committee minutes on block.
I'm happy that that's a majority, Mr. Mayor.
That's a majority. Thank you very much indeed, everybody. Agenda item 10, committee vacancies. Councillor, Mr. Ikram, we don't call him councillor yet. No, yeah. Mr. Wood, this is where you may put your name forward. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 vacancies. The first one is on the Allotments and Landscapes Committee. Do we have anybody wishing to join us on the Allotments and Landscapes Committee?
So, Mr. I should have said this is only up until the annual meeting, when obviously we will.
It's only till the end of this year. The next meeting, which is in May, we will start again. So there's probably 1 meeting left for each committee. But it would at least give you the opportunity to see how things
I think Councillor Kirby had his hand up.
Councillor Kirby, you've got your hand up. Can you mute yourself, please, Councillor Kirby?
Yeah, sorry, I'm quite happy to go on that for 1 month allotment.
So somebody propose Councillor Kirby, please.
Councillor Akhtar.
Councillor Akhtar. Somebody to second it, please.
Sorry. Councillor Munsell.
Councillor Munsell. All those in favour?
Thank you, councillors.
Councillors, it looks like they're having technical difficulties at the Civic Centre. Brian?
Yeah, I'm here.
You want to do your magic then?
Done it. I don't know what they're playing at back there, but it looks like it's the clerk's computer that's gone down. All the speakers are going through his. Now it looks like we've got Peter trying to get on. Just bear with.
Can you hear me, Brian?
Yes.
Yeah, you're back on now, Peter.
I can't hear you, I'm afraid.
And you're not.
I think we need to change the IT support.
Yeah, you
Sorry?
need to.
That's a professional.
I am.
No comment. No comment. Has Joe managed to get reconnected? Is he in the process of trying?
Why can I not hear Brian?
Because you might have your sound turned down. You can't hear because he's got his sound turned down.
Don't you just like live theatre?
Sorry about that, everybody. Can everybody hear us?
No.
Thank you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
There we go.
Are you better now, by the way?
Civic Centre Strategy, Mr. Mayor.
Right.
That's the fast we
We're
got.
back on track. Civic Centre Strategy Committee. Have we got somebody for that, please?
Councillor Shazadi wanted to speak.
Councillor Shazad, you are the chair of that committee. You wanted to say something?
If you can just unmute yourself, Councillor Shazad, please.
It's got Councillor Martin Wood on this.
Shazad, he's struggling to unmute himself, Mr. Mayor. Can we want somebody else?
Is anybody else? Do I have any other volunteers, please, for the Civic Centre and Strategy Committee?
We can leave it vacant.
Mr. Clark, does the new candidates, Martin Wood or the other gentleman, are they interested? Do they know?
They do. Thank you.
Right, well, we'll leave that vacant then. Community Development Committee.
I can't see any hand. Councillor Kirby, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Kirby?
Yeah, I'm quite happy to go on that one.
Somebody proposed Councillor Kirby for the CD Committee. Councillor Graham, somebody to second it, please.
Councillor Adams.
Councillor Adams, all those in favour?
Yeah, that's carried, thank you.
Thank you again, councillors.
Planning Committee, we have a vacancy on the Planning Committee. Does anybody wish to put the name forward for the Planning Committee?
Martin Wood is.
Mr. Martin Wood, you want to put yourself forward? Can I have somebody to propose Mr. Wood, please? Councillor Hamilton and Councillor Adams seconded. All those in favour? Before he changes his mind, thank you. That's great, is that? And finally, Finance and Audit. Do we have anybody for Finance and Audit? Mr. Ickham, and would you like to join us on Finance and Audit? Have we got? I can't see it.
I can't see anybody signalling, Chair.
No, the signal.
It is only one more meeting, not that you'll.
Okay, it's only one meeting, so we'll leave that vacant as well. Thank you, Councillor Kirby. Thank you, Mr. Wood. Right, agenda item 11 is the recommendation from the Finance and Audit Committee And it's to consider the attached report from the town clerk detailing a request from the Finance and Audit Committee to allocate unspent budget from the 2021 events and leisure budget to 21-22 celebration event.
It's just a member to decide, Chair.
I don't know, would Councillor Westerman like to speak on it as it was his suggestion in the first place, or are you happy for us just to go to the vote, Councillor Westerman? Councillor, yes, please, if you will.
Yeah, I mentioned this for celebration events. The events committee had over £10,000, and we put some aside for something to do with COVID, after COVID, should I say, an event after COVID. And we looked at Christmas lights and every other lights, Eid, etc., for the town centre. And I thought it'd be good if we could actually, as a council, put towards, you know, some new lighting for different events within the town and other events, you know, entertainment, things like that, celebration lights. So I asked for that, and I'm glad that the Finance and Audit have actually had a look at this and brought it to full council this evening. And that's all it is, Mr. Mayor.
We need a proposal.
Yeah.
Right, thank you, Councillor Westerman.
Recommendations in
the recommendations come from the Finance Committee, so would the Chair of the Finance Committee care to propose this, please?
So proposed, Mr.
Thank
Mayor.
you. Seconded by Councillor Graham. All those in favour?
I think that's carried, Chair.
That's carried. Thank you very much indeed.
Item 12 says scheme of delegation.
Thank you. Agenda item 12 is the scheme of delegation 2021 for decision. To consider the amendments to the scheme of delegation recommended by the Policy and Governance Committee.
Nick, Councillor Westerman.
Councillor Westerman, you are the chair. Can you just explain slightly to the members?
Yeah, the scheme of delegation basically is when we delegate powers and things like this across to officers, etc., and what the council cannot do. It hasn't changed. The committee's looked at it, and I'm asking the council to once again accept the scheme of delegation. I think this will go forward in May as well.
Yeah, Chair, if I can, Mr. Mayor, just a couple of, so Councillor Westman's quite right, it hasn't changed, but there are 5 tweaks which we've made to the terms of reference for committees. And that is around, one is the complaints committee, that's going to be called a complaints panel to fit in with the complaints policy, so it only meets as and when complaints reach stage 2. We've also clarified in the terms of reference what is the quorum or what's quorum for the committee, and we've included that the attendance of the ex officio with the mayor or the deputy mayor counts towards that committee being quorum. It wasn't very clear in the previous terms of reference, so it's just to clear that up. There's a recommendation there, excuse me, just for the Events and Leisure Committee in terms of co-opting non-voting members. That is in standing orders, but P&G thought it was useful to have in there because that's the committee which is most likely to have a non-voting member. P&G are recommending that the planning committee be increased to 10 members. And again, that will come to annual council. If this is agreed to, that the update document will come to annual council. And the last amendment is just a clarification for Watch Transport, in terms of Watch Transport has the brief for boundary signs, bench, street furniture, that type of item, which heritage phone boxes. So they're the 5. So no massive changes. They're the 5 clarifications. I think members can just consider them and move to the vote, Mr. Mayor.
Right, thank you. Councillor Mosley, you have a question?
No, I was just going to propose them.
Oh, thank you. So, right, okay, so proposed by Councillor Mounsell, seconded by Councillor Westerman. All those in favour? Yeah, that's carried, Mr. Mayor, thank you. Thank you. Councillor, agenda item 13 is standing orders. I'm presuming that's come through from policy and governance as well. Is there anything you would like to add before we go to the vote, Councillor Westerman?
Yeah, you will notice in standing orders a couple of tweaks in them, and that's on standing 4F. It's going to be, the committee has the absolute discretion. They've taken out the word to write, and the meeting summons will be delivered electronically to each councillor to their town council email account and not to their town council electronic device. And also one which I need to run past the clerk and explain first before we go to them. In standing order 3S, it should be in bold. Unless standing orders provide otherwise, voting on the question shall be by a show of hands at the request of a councillor. The voting on any question shall be recorded, etc. That should be in bold. It isn't in bold in the new standing orders, although it has been every other year. So with the amendments and this one as well, can I propose that we accept the standing orders?
Thank you. You're proposing. Can I have a seconder, please? Thank you. Before we go, Councillor Graham, thank you. Before we go to the vote, is there anybody who wishes to add anything to that? They would have been that's it. So all those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you. It's carried. Thank you. Agenda item 14, asset register. Again, it's for decision. The asset register has been updated. I'll just ask the clerk just to briefly explain where we are with it.
Thank you. Briefly, Mr. Mayor, obviously we have to do this once a year, both for end of year accounts preparation, but also to make sure we have our insurance policy is up to date in terms of building and contents. There's been some minor changes this year, most of which has been we've purchased obviously additional IT equipment due to home working for the lockdown. That's been added on. We've bought some new benches, the Town Hall Square, and also new boundary signs. About once a month, we double check the asset register, myself and Mr. Morris, and we keep updated. But once a year, you should just give it the once over ahead of the year end to make sure it's accurate.
Thank you. In that case, I'll propose that we accept this. So can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Hamilton. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? That's carried. Agenda item 15 is the corporate risk assessment. Mr. Clark, if I could ask you to just...
Yeah, again, I will try and be brief. Members may remember that as part of our internal audit for financial year 1920, the one area that they raised that we didn't meet the criteria in terms of at the year end was the management of risk during the previous financial year. So last January, you adopted a new corporate risk assessment. That was January 2020. And that had 42 areas of risk identified, 32 of which we required to do some additional work on to improve. Throughout the year, we've done that. I think there's only a couple of areas that are left that require some work. When the internal auditor came in December 2020 and reviewed the risk assessment, it is now compliant. So the council, if the internal auditor was doing his audit or their audit today, we've been compliant with in terms of managing our risk. It is an annual document, so also we've reviewed it again for the year ahead, and we've identified 47 risks, and that's not a bad thing. So obviously what the previous document was, it was a reactionary, so it was a reactionary document dealing with issues that we had there and then that had to be resolved. What it's moving to, and the conversation we've had with the internal auditor, is trying to make it more of a forecast, so trying to anticipate risks that the council may have in the future, and how can we manage and mitigate them. And I think there's 8 of those 47 that we've identified that we can do some extra work on to help lower the risk. And as last year, I think we've said it will sit with the Finance and Audit Committee, who will oversee the work on those, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
So that's that. Yeah.
So we're going from a reactive to a proactive document,
Yes.
but they are living documents.
Yeah.
I propose that. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Mansell. Before I go to the vote, has anybody got any questions, anything they'd like to ask? No. All those in favour? Anybody against? Any abstentions? That's carried, Mr. Clerk. Agenda item 16, town plan report. It says to consider the cash report from the assistant town clerk detailing the progress of the town plan. So Pip, can you give us a few little pointers on this one, please?
Gladly. We've tried to put the review of the last year into a nice essay style report for easy reading. It does target everything that you've achieved as a council over this last year, despite coronavirus, not being able to do as many events and be out there in the community as much as we would. But we supported lots of groups, lots of initiatives, and it's all written down in that report, and it's just for you to approve. Thank you.
Check it. Also, we should also note that 16B, the steering group have recommended some additional targets for next year around young people. So again, if you can just note them and accept them, we'll build them into the town plan for year 2.
As it says on your agenda, councillors, it is for noting, therefore we don't need to vote. So if we can note the town plan and 16B, which is the inclusion of young people within the town plan. Thank you. Agenda item 17, annual calendar of meetings. I'm presuming this is 21-22.
It is, Mr. Mayor. Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Walker has his hand up, Mr. Mayor.
Which Councillor Walker?
Martin Walker.
Councillor Martin Walker, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think there's a clue therein, has his hand up. I have discussed this with the clerk today. My understanding is that the rule in the past has been that August is a kind of fallow month when no meetings take place. That doesn't necessarily apply to planning, which continues nevertheless, if you like. I've suggested to the clerk that we think about the 10th and the 24th of August as 2 possible Tuesdays. There won't, of course, be a P&G that month. So that's really just a suggestion at this stage. Maybe we only need 1 meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Robertson.
I agree with Councillor Walker. The fact is if we don't have any meetings for planning in August, then we will have a huge amount to do on the 14th of September. I just don't think that that's going to be feasible. I think we do.
The 10th and 24th, that's fine.
10th and the 24th.
Yeah. Of August.
So you're going to have 2 in August?
Yeah, we'll put them in. I'm happy with that.
Right, thank you. The suggestion is the 10th and the 24th of August, which will obviously mean that the first meeting in September, which is 14th, shouldn't be massive. So unless anybody's got any other things you'd like to say about any other of the committee meetings, can I have a proposal, please, to accept them? Councillor Andrew Walker, seconded by Councillor Graham. All those in favour? Any against?
I will send this out tomorrow. Mr.
Any
Mayor.
abstentions? No. Thank you. That's duly passed. Agenda item 18, climate change action plan. To consider the attached report from the assistant town clerk detailing the proposed climate change action plan. Pip, please.
Thank you. Welcome to the Climate Change Action Plan. So this is just in recognition of the Council declaring a climate emergency back in June 2019. So we've pulled together some actions and it's just for you to approve and adopt then. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, the only thing I'll add to what Pippa's said is there are, Pippa's pulled this together. She's been leading in terms of the office work. There are 26 actions on the list, but they're all actions which the town council can do. So we're not doing, we're not doing big picture trying to change the world. There's 26 real actions that we as a town council can do. You've got Councillor Kirby, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Kirby.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. When this was brought to full town council by Councillor Munsell and Councillor Curtis, I think there was something left out, which was a climate change officer. We don't seem to have one. Could it be possible for us to look at getting one where members of the public can get in touch with that one? I did speak to Councillor Adams, I think was 2019 regarding this. We don't want to be left behind, if you understand what I'm saying. Thank you.
Thank you. Whether we actually employ somebody to do this job or we actually ask the clerk to designate somebody to do it is up to full council. But I would think that the HR committee might decide on the delegation rather than.
But to be honest, obviously the assistant town clerk, in terms of the office work, in terms of being the lead officer for implementing it, it is the assistant town clerk. So if we can talk about that, but in terms of the action plan you have in front of you, the person responsible for the implementation day to day will obviously be the assistant town clerk, who is eager, keen, and will make sure this gets done as she does everything else she does.
So I think what we're saying, Councillor Kirby, is that rather that the deputy town clerk, community development officer, will be keeping a watching brief on this particular subject. So if I can have a proposal, please, to accept it. Councillor Graham, a seconder. Councillor Mount. Oh, Councillor Mount, are you wishing to speak, Councillor Mounsell? Right, Councillor Mounsell, if you wish to speak. Do you want to second it, and then we'll go, before we go to the vote, you can talk.
I'll second it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Do you want to, have something you wish to say? Thank you.
I just want to thank the office for this. I think it's a brilliant step forward. And obviously, we will, like everything else, work as a living document as we go forward. I just wanted to just check at review points. I imagine it'll be yearly then, in a similar way that our town plan will be. So I just wanted a bit of clarity on that.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, you go ahead, it's your baby.
Yeah, it'll be quarterly to full council, Councillor Munsell. There'll be key objectives, obviously, that we'll work towards. And like I say, quarterly reports to council and then a full review annually. Thank you.
You're happy with that? Does anybody else wish to say anything? No. Right, we'll go to the vote then. All those in favour? Anybody against? One, that's Councillor Bernardini.
No, he's not against it.
Oh, no, you're just a bit late with your hand. Okay, any abstentions? No. That's been duly, that's been noted and passed. Agenda item 19, councillor attendance. As you're aware, this evening we had to co-opt 2 members onto the council because and there will be an election in no part. That election is simply because people are not attending committee meetings, which according to the law you must attend at least one every 6 months. Councillor Walker has asked for this to be brought, so I'm going to ask Councillor Walker to speak on it. But this is about people who put their names down for council meetings or committee meetings and don't go. And we finish up with in-quorum committee meetings that have to be abandoned. Though as a committee-led council, that means council business does not get carried out at that particular time. We have to then look at bringing forward emergency meetings, extraordinary meetings, and our workload gets pushed back to the next quorum meeting. So it is basically a reminder to each and every one of us that we are, and we should be attending meetings. If we put us name down for committees, please go to them. It's vitally important. Councillor Martin Walker, if you want to add anything to that, please do.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. For those councillors who haven't been at the meetings when this has previously been discussed, just a very brief timeline. The clerk sent out an email to all 28 councillors, as they were at that time, calling an extraordinary town council meeting for Wednesday the 23rd. The reason for this was to give an extended leave of absence to a councillor. But following advice from YLCA, that meeting was cancelled. The fallout from that was that 2 further former councillors also therefore were disqualified under the 72 Act. The only question I would ask, and I'd like to reserve the right to reply at the end, the only question I was asked was, we should perhaps find a way forward from this. I understand it's not within the clerk's duties to, if you like, monitor attendance, although that's done on a 3-month basis as a regular report now. But in terms of something that can't be covered by occupational health or human resources, there's a kind of duty of care that if councillors are running the risk of missing 6 months worth of meetings, that there should be some sort of mechanism where a reminder is given. There is also a point I would make, which is that the minutes of the November 2020 Council, which we would have considered at the 23rd of December meeting, actually includes a section which says if apologies are given and a reason given for that, that does not count towards the 6-month rule. I'd like to leave it open for discussion now, please.
Can't hear him.
Sorry, I'm moving. I'm going to ask the town clerk to answer that. But what I'm going to say to you is quite simply this. When people fall foul of an act which is written down in statute, there is absolutely nothing whatsoever that we as a council can do. We are obliged to obey the law. The law is that you have to attend at least 1 meeting within that 6-month period. And it cannot, and the reason we couldn't have the meeting that you mentioned is because you cannot retrospectively go back and allow and give somebody mitigation. If somebody is ill, if somebody has a problem, and we have had 2 councillors already on this council, both of whom within that 6-month period explained their situation to me as mayor, and this council gave them both leave to a leave of absence because of their particular problems. One was ill, one had a family member who was seriously ill. It isn't the clerk's job, nor should it ever be the clerk's job, to explain to grown people that they need to abide to the law. It isn't. It just simply isn't. We all have to abide by the same laws, and we all have to be here at the same time. And I don't see any reason why the office should keep track of every single councillor and make sure that they are attending meetings, and or if they're coming up to the time when they may fall foul of the Local Authority, Local Government Act 1972.
You got the deputy mayor with a hand up.
Deputy Mayor, you would like to speak? That's Councillor Adams, please.
Yeah, first of all, I thought this agenda item was councillors' attendance at committee meetings. And when I say that, I mean councillors who are in the position of councillor. Just following on from what you have said, Mr. Mayor, every councillor, when they become a councillor, receives standing orders, code of conduct, and everything is written in there what a councillor's responsibility is. Now, we're all grown adults. If you read the standing orders, it's quite clear in there, the rule and the 6-month rule. So it absolutely isn't the responsibility of the clerk or anybody else. We're all grown-ups who want to be councillors, and as such, we should keep up with our standing orders of what we should and shouldn't be doing.
Mr. Mayor, can I come on a point of order, please?
What is your point of order, please?
Standing order 11.
Which is?
Keeping to items under discussion according to the agenda. The disqualification of 3 councillors and the way they're disqualified or not is not an agenda item. Discussion, the question was this attendance of committees only, not about 3 councillors being disqualified through any fault of their own or any fault of the council. So therefore I would like to keep it under standing order 11, keeping to items under discussion.
Right.
My advice is to council and to you is it's one and the same issue. If you don't attend a committee meeting, you for 6 months, then you don't attend. I don't think it's your ruling, but my advice to you is it's the debate is broad enough that there's nothing improper about it.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Councillor Westerman, whilst I accept what you're saying in principle, the agenda item is councillor attendance for discussion. It doesn't say whether it's for committees or whether or not people have been disqualified. I think we all know that people have been disqualified, and that's the only reason why we've had a co-option this evening. Councillor Walker,
Councillor Phil Shaw first.
Felt he had something to say about it, and he's been allowed to say it. And I think it's only right that we do allow people to have a point of view. Councillor Phil Shaw.
Right, I'm just looking at the Local Government Act under section 1 of, under section 85, paragraph 1, it states if apologies are approved, that is classed as part of the attendance. And that's what it says under paragraph 85, section 1. So the minute you authorise somebody's absence, by accepting their apologies, you're accepting that they've attended that meeting. So the 6 month rule doesn't apply there. It's only if you do not contact the council and your apologies are not accepted. So if we don't accept council's apologies, that means they fall foul of the 6 month rule. If we accept them as if they have attended the meeting. So they would not fall foul of the 6 month rule.
Thank you. I'd like the clerk to speak on that one.
Chair, it is the only way you can avoid the section 85 of the 1972 Act is by resolution of council. So that is the council agreeing to give a leave of absence or to accept the reason for non-attendance. That has to be placed on the agenda because you have to be able to vote on it. The giving of apology at the start of the meeting, like we did tonight, is a courtesy. And again, this is the guidance we've received from NAL and from YLCA. I'll happily share that with the members. That the start of the meeting where you hand over the apology is a courtesy. If you are asking for a leave of absence or you can't attend me for 6 months, that requires a specific resolution of council.
Thank you.
Right. Councillor Walker left. I think he wanted to sum up.
Councillor Martin Walker, are you wanting to say something again?
Yes, please. Just in response to Councillor Westerman. We have virtually all councillors present at this meeting. And I would point out that the town clerk gave similar advice to what he's just given now, The reason we have disqualified councillors is because of poor committee attendance. He said at the previous meeting of P&G that it was acceptable to cover it under this. This was overruled by the chair, which has now come to this meeting.
Thank you.
That's that. The councillor was the last to speak. So
Right.
that was it.
Thank you. In that case, we'll move on to agenda item 20, report from outside bodies. I noticed from the report there's nothing from the Oakhurst Village Society. There's nothing from the local council liaison meeting. YLCA, Councillor Anaya, is there anything you would like to say on that respect? I can see your hand, Councillor Adams. I'll bring you in when Councillor Anaya's.
Not really, Mr. Mayor. I think I've just tended the report really as I'm supposed to.
Okay, you're happy with that report?
Yeah, I wrote it. I've got to be happy.
Well, I'm sure you are then. All right, Councillor Adams.
Yeah, not really outside bodies as such, but can I just mention Councillor Chris Graham and just thank her for arranging all the volunteers up at the car park at Longley week in and week out, so that people are getting their COVID jabs, getting in and out really quickly. And I'd like to applaud her for that, because she's done a fantastic job. And also Councillor Abdul Shohid for, although he's the Lorcombe and Schofield councillor, he actually lives in the Knoll Park area, and he's set up a Lund Park community group to do cleanups. And I would also thank him, because I went to this cleanup on Saturday and a lot of people turned out, and he's a credit to their community. So thank you to you as well.
Yes, thank you. I'm sure we all echo your thanks, Councillor Adams, to Councillor Graham, Councillor Joy, and all the others who do such sterling work. We have our own local committee, because I can see them on screen as well. So I think as a council we're not doing too bad. Councillor Westerman, you have your hand up.
This had me under for quite a bit, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to come back on a point of order, but I didn't want to interrupt any other councillors, although a point of order can, and that's on Standing Order 1 for explanation. Councillor Martin Walker said, at the PNG, I overruled the clerk. The explanation on that is the reason why I overruled the clerk and said we can't discuss it at PNG is because it was already mentioned in full council in January, and full council said it would go back to them. So you cannot take it to full council 1 month, then bring it back to a committee, and then expect it to go back to the council. It either goes to committee or council. That's why I overruled, and I said no.
Can I just say, I think the item, the agenda item was discussed, and at the end of the day, I think probably we'll all agree to disagree on certain aspects of that.
What I was trying to point out, Mr. Mayor, was
your explanation's been heard, Councillor Westerman, and I'm sure we all accept what you're saying. Was there someone else, Clark?
No.
No, right, okay. So the next.
Sorry, Councillor Andrew Walker does have a hand up, sorry.
Councillor Andrew Walker, you would like to have a word? Is it about the report from outside bodies, or is it a previous item?
It's following on from what Councillor Julie Adams, the Deputy Mayor, was saying.
Oh, that's fine, okay, if you want to say something on that score.
Yeah, when she was saying about the volunteers up at Longley, my daughter was actually one of the volunteers.
So can you send her and give her our thanks?
I will do, thank you.
Thank you very much. Agenda item 21, any items for discussion for future agendas? Has anyone got anything? Bearing in mind that the next full council meeting will be the 20th of May and will be the election of the mayor and deputy mayor. So that again will be.
If there's anything, it'll likely be put onto the June agenda just because of the mayor agenda will be the formal meeting.
Hopefully what we'll do, we'll be able to have the elections on that day, and then shortly followed by the ceremonial, because as we all know, that is still a full council meeting, and it becomes a lengthy affair, and particularly if we've got friends and relatives there, it's far better that we have a night where friends, relatives and the bonfire can take place.
Councillor Kirby has his hand up.
Councillor Kirby.
Yeah, I'm sorry about it. It's going back to the beginning, your opening speech regarding Merlin Top, where we visited. You mentioned yourself and me, but I'd like to take this opportunity to mention Councillor Bernardini, because without Councillor Bernardini, we wouldn't have been able to implement this bin. So I'd like to thank him personally and invite him to the next when we go to set this bin in, when it's delivered, to come up and have your picture taken with us and the children at Merlin Top. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. So I hope you heard that, Councillor Bernardini.
You've got Councillor Westerman as well.
And it is in your ward. I didn't think it was, but your ward bound is Bankfield Drive. So yeah, Councillor Westerman. And then Councillor Mounsell, you've got your hand up as well.
With this being your last meeting, which you alluded to at the beginning, which I normally do at the end of every civic year, is pass on my thanks to you and the Deputy Mayor for the work and keeping the council running during these bad times of COVID. And I'm sure my colleagues around the screens will like to say thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and Deputy Mayor, for keeping the council on the straight and narrow.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you to all of you. The date of the next meeting is the 20th of May 2021, when we will be saying my fond farewells, rejoining you on the back benches,
causing trouble,
bringing up points of order, and the new mayor have to report with it. Councillor Bernardini, are you wishing to speak? If you want, I've seen you as well, Councillor Adams, and you probably want to say thank you as I've just done. Councillor Bernardini.
Yeah, no, I will not say thank you for the Mayor, Peter Corkindale and Julie Adams. I will not say thank you to them for running this very difficult civic year, because if I'm going to say thank you to people that I believe have brilliantly done their job, if we will get a bad mayor and deputy mayor, then I will have to say bad things about them. So I will not congratulate you and I will not thank you for the excellent job that you have done.
Well, thanks for that. Councillor Adams.
I just want to say thank you. I've thoroughly enjoyed it, quite honest. I've enjoyed getting out and seeing people. I didn't think I'd be able to do as much as I've actually done this year, so it's been quite interesting, and I look forward to working with everybody else when we're all sat back on the benches. So
well, I'm looking forward to the pubs opening.
So, Mr. Mayor, just on a slightly serious point, the current legislation around virtual meeting expires on the 7th of May. As of yet, it hasn't been renewed. So if it doesn't get renewed, we have to go back to in-person meetings. So I will keep members updated, but we may have to consider how we can facilitate a full council meeting in person. But we'll have to wait and see.
The COVID regulations that they're re-voting,
that's different.
It's a different thing altogether.
Councillor Michelle Shaw's got her hand up. She's had it up a while, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, sorry, Michelle. Please, Councillor Shaw.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to say thank you to Joe and Pip and Sarah as well for all the work that they put in. They, you know, do all the groundwork and send all the emails and everything. So I just want to say a big thank you to them. Oh, and Brian, seeing as he's putting his hands there But thank you to all of you. We do appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor, we come up to 2 hours. Can I propose a comfort break?
I think, well, I think the comfort break's going to last well tomorrow morning because that's the end of it. Can I thank you all, each and every one of you? You've been brilliant throughout the entire. I've been doing this for 2 years now, and I couldn't have done it without all of you. Thank you.
Feels like 10.
It feels like 10 to you, does it? Oh, no, okay.